Wilcoxen Solo, slow motion. Solo number 121, take 1, 3, 2, 1. This is the Wilcoxen Solo number 121. It has something very interesting at the beginning of it. It has an 11-stroke roll. The 11-stroke roll is written on a quarter note that has 2 grace notes as a cutoff and then another 8th note. So it's from 1 to 2 in the measure. Now, what I've determined, and I'm sure I'm right, is that the really beautiful thing about this rhythm is that what you're doing is you always have to find an underlying wrist stroke that you will play that's the bass rhythm for all the rolls, the basic rhythm you'd play for any of the rolls. This one I've determined to be 5/16 notes under a 5 sign. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, and that would be, you didn't see that. I can't whip my sticks around like that. Maybe it looks like I am now. Okay. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, and. Then I double that, and it would be and that is an 11-stroke roll. So when you have the 5/16 notes and you could do the cutoff note and you get the 5 counts under 1 quarter note, that reminded me of something that I really did want to share with you, and here it is. I did a rhythm course, and I wrote a book on rhythm. I actually taught the rhythm course at Georgia State University, which was my own proprietary course called Developing Rhythmic Sensitivity, which is the name of my book. There's quite a bit attached to that, and that'll come up on the autobiography and a number of things that are connected with it. A counting system. And I think it's a really excellent counting system, so I want to share it with you here. It has very much to do with the fact that that 11-stroke roll is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2. When you're doing a quarter note, which I like to call the incredible quarter note, because it's so much can be done with it, it represents all notes. The quarter note represents any and all notes. You can divide and subdivide that quarter note, I think, up to 9 parts. Of course you can divide it into smaller parts, but to be able to perform it and count it and work with it, if you can first be able to divide and subdivide it up to 9 equal parts, and you can control all those divisions and subdivisions equally, you will become a very good person in your awareness of your rhythm. Now, it's kind of hard to do cold here because I'm not in the rhythm class, I'm not teaching, but if I go down one side of my chart, I would have the 2-part subdivisions. So I would go 1, 2, and, well, I should say 1. 1, 1, and 1D and 1D and D and 1. So when I'm counting the 32nd notes, you notice that I go back to my 16th note counting of 1D and I use what I call plosive consonants after the number and the and count. I really, really don't like 1E and I think it's just limpy. I don't think it has a point of articulation. I don't think it's an accurate kind of counting. Boy, I just feel the carrots coming right across the camera to me right there from music educators. But if you hear me count this, 1, 1, and 1D and so I articulate, I separate, I individualize each of the countings, and I make it very, very pointed and accurate. Not that I would play every note on a piano or a clarinet or an instrument that would be a melodic sound that way, but that's to get your rhythm tight, to be able to get it under control the way you need to. So, 1, 1, and 1D and 1D and D and And you see how I've kept the 1D and I've expanded it out to 1D and D and You have to practice that in order to accept it and make it good. If you do, it will become yours. 1D and D and 1D and 1D and D and Now let's go down the other side of the mathematical chart for rhythm. Have a second. Now I'll take that quarter note and I'll start dividing and subdividing into 3 parts. This gets even more exciting. So I will go 1, 1 O-lit, 1 no-lit, and no-lit, 1 O-lit, and O-lit, and O-lit, 1. That was 3 eighth notes under a triplet sign, what we call a septuplet or a sixlet, and that's 6 16th notes under a 6 sign, or 2 groups of 3, and then 9 32nd notes under 1 quarter note count. And that's fast. Okay. Even if you're playing it, that's fast. So that's the divisions and the subdivisions that go if you're taking the natural subdivisions of the note. 1, 1 O-lit, 1 no-lit, and no-lit, 1 O-lit, and O-lit, and O-lit, 1. 1 O-lit, and O-lit, and O-lit, 1. You start out with 1 O-lit, you go to the 6, now you have the "and" in the center. 1 O-lit and no-lit, 1 O-lit and no-lit, 2 O-lit and no-lit, 3, that's the 16th note subdivision for the quarter note. And then you go to the next subdivision down, you keep the "and" counts in place, 1 O-lit and no-lit, 1 O-lit and O-lit and O-lit, 2 O-lit and O-lit and O-lit, 3 O-lit and O-lit and O-lit, 4 O-lit and O-lit and O-lit. Yes, you got to practice. 1 O-lit and no-lit and no-lit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All kinds of other little words and practice symbols that we use. But we're not done, because a lot of people overlook the 5 and the 7, where you're playing 5 equally spaced notes over 1 count, or you're playing 7 equally spaced notes over 1 count. If I'm using my incredible quarter note, then the 5 would be a group of 5 16th notes with a 5 barred across the top. And after many years of teaching this, I can tell you without a doubt that you do not want to group the 5 mentally or performance-wise into a group of 2 plus 3 or 3 plus 2 or 2 plus 2 plus 1 or any kind of artificial grouping that would give you the 5, but you want to go from 1 to 1. You want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. So the 5 falls right after the 4 16th notes and right before the septuplet, meaning that I would go 1 D and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 no-lit and no-lit. So the feel of it is from 1 to 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. The 6 would be 2 groups of 3, 1 no-lit and no-lit. And then the 7, which is the next grouping based on the quarter note, would be from 1 to 1. It's critical that on the 5 and the 7, you go from 1 to 1. People don't know how to play those. And it's because they don't go from 1 to 1. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. The catch of sorts is that of all the counting that's there, there's only 1 2-syllable word, and that's 7. So you can't say 7, you say 7, S-E-V-N. Now you can make 7 fit to be the 7th count of a group of 7 16th notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. It's a little tricky to do cold. Usually practice it with a metronome, get warmed up. But here now are, finally, all the divisions and subdivisions in order of the incredible quarter note from 1 to 9, sparked by the fact that when I saw Solo 121, it reminded me that it was, you remember, a group of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2. That's the underbody for that 11-stroke roll. You'll hear it when I come down the line now. 1, 1, and 1 O-lit, 1 D and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. I think out loud. Okay, 5 goes to 6. Here we go again. 1, 1, and 1 O lit, 1 D and 1 2 3 4 5 1 no lit and no lit 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 D and D and 1 lit and lit and lit 1. I'll take that. This is solo number 121. That was a good performance of it. There is something in this solo that has bothered us when we've played it in the past. Third line, second measure. Yeah, the 10-stroke roll doesn't seem to make sense there. If you articulate that and you go 1 and 2 D and or 1 1 2 3 4 5 6, you can't make it come out to be the 10-stroke roll. In 2/4 time, it fits this. Tap 1 2 3 4, like a 6-stroke roll. So I'm talking off the top here, but I think that's a 6-stroke roll, not a 10-stroke roll. And go ahead and prove me wrong. But the flow of the solo and the way it's written, the way it has to be played, third line, first measure, that fits perfectly. It starts with the grace notes where they should be. It puts the 2 cutoff notes of the roll right on 2, and then the last 2 grace notes come where they should be. So I'm going to go ahead. This is solo number 122. I have not seen all these stick clicks for a long time. We'll just have to see how it goes. This may be the grand finale of this evening. We'll find out. I think I'm going to live with that. Hope you have fun playing along with it. I can't remember where that little thing went out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's start 5 lines from the bottom, everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is harder right here, by the way. That was good, and that corrected the mistake that I had made before. Also, I hit my finger. Did you feel that? Did you hear it? Ouch. You don't ever give away, though. It's solo number 123. I'm really hoping I can get solo number 125. So back up there, my mind always says to me, that was wrong. What'd you do? And the other part of my mind says, don't you dare stop. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it was the fifth line. 1D and 2D and then if you see that second measure, you're looking at 16th rest, right? But you can't play it. You can't observe the 16th rest when you're playing this style because you've got to back up those two grace notes on to that 16th rest. That's the really crazy thing about this kind of drumming. So it's 1D and da da 2D and da da 1D and da da 2D and It's totally weird, I know. Makes your mind fly. But you see how I made it work out perfect? 1D and da da 2D and da da 1D and da 2D and And I think that would take care of them. Let's try it again. Here we go. Get a nice run on it. I'll speed it up just a little bit, make it fun for everybody. By the way, I think you know, shouldn't probably announce it right here, but I can't help it. I am recording or have recorded all these solos like blazing fast speed. And when we get them finished, we're going to put the slow performance of the solos for teaching for everybody with the second performance of it, which I hope is kind of a blow your mind performance of it, and they'll all be combined together. And then I better stop. I'm going to tell you too much. So let's enjoy the solo. That's a good performance. If you want to be really mean to me, you can freeze frame every measure and look at it, see which hands are high. You'll see that I did miss a sticking in there, but I hope I kept the flow of the solo, and that's all you're going to get off of solo number 123. I'm heading to my goal, solo 125. Here's solo 124. We're going to make it, Tom. I slowed down a little bit as I was going. I was saying, man, I was getting too hyped. I was playing that solo way too fast for those of you that are still in the learning mode here. I was doing solo when I was saying that. So I apologize for that, and I will play the solo slower now and just trying to get it more down to performance speed. There was a tough little measure in there. I don't remember where the stickings reverse so awkwardly. I'll try and be real careful that I catch that. I didn't miss any rhythms or anything, but to force you to have to go, that's not fair. The dotted 16th notes, when you're playing 16th notes, they're going 1D and 2D and then you remember my counting? 1D and 2D and. So that's forcing those 32nd notes to go twice as fast, which means when you have the dotted 16th note and the 32nd note, that's as tight a rhythm as you're going to find in any of Wilcoxen on any of the solos. And then sometimes in the solos, they put the grace note on the 32nd. That's why sometimes you hear this, 1D and 2D and which becomes, and other times, which just bust your hands becomes. That's why you have to have all your chops built up on the individual rudiments on the sheets to be able to apply it to these solos. By the way, that is the figure on the third line, second measure. So now I'll perform it at, it's really slow in the solo, but it's all to account for the speed that occurs when a 32nd note figure is in a 2/4 solo. One of the things, that's a good performance, I think. One of the things I am not doing on Wilcoxen, I think I've said it to those of you that have stayed with me on this. I know it's not to my advantage as being a performer because I am a very good performer and I have extremely steady time, but I haven't referenced these solos against a metronome, and I know that there are a lot of variances there. I can feel them. I can feel them when I'm playing some of the figures. You know, when I'm teaching, and I teach my students, I teach the pulse being a straight line. When players are playing drum set, so you've got a click track in your ear, but if you have to internally chest zone, heart zone, not your head. You don't feel the rhythm. You don't hear the rhythm inside yourself from your brain. You transfer that thought right down into the center of your chest zone, and it can be done. You can shift it, the awareness of it, right down into your chest zone. I've done it with dozens of students, but it is a procedure of practice. So when you hold that tempo steady, you'll hear the players go rushing and dragging, but if you're steady, you will always pull your players back to you. But if you got a bass player that's rushing, you're in a group, and that bass player starts pulling you faster or dragging you down, and you don't keep your sense of tempo or pulse internally, the group's going to fall apart. That's why it's so important that you develop that internal sense of pulse. When I've been doing these solos one after the other, I could reference a metronome all the way through, but it would kind of get in the way of all the way I'm teaching this, and I'm trying to approach it in a very free, relaxed, friendly style. I'm just not being methodical, like I said, when I was talking about the symphony locking me into that per second kind of thing. I can definitely play and split my life into milliseconds, because that's the way I almost had to live, and that's the way you have to perform, by the way. You perform by the millisecond, not half seconds. So, yes, you got to hold those tempos absolutely steady. So if you're going to put a metronome against me and hold it as a heartbeat, you're going to be a little disappointed. But if you accept the total of the package that I'm presenting to you, I'm aware when the tempos are fluctuating. Thank you for that. Here comes the goal for today. Just looking at it, it's filled with rhythmic cues and single strokes and probably some figures that'll mess my mind up. But we're going to do it right now, and this is solo number 125, which I don't know the percentage of the book that completes at a slow tempo, but I'm really proud to get there to help all of you out with this. Solo number 125, hooray! watch my face rather than listening to the playing. If you watch it real carefully, you'll see my lips curl down just a little bit in that one tiny little part of a measure. And yes, Mr. Wilcoxen turned the sticking on me again. You wouldn't even know it because I did it without letting you hear it. But I got to find that. I want to play this last solo for you. I'm scanning the music right now trying to find it without a single bad sticking. Taking my shoes off, getting in my socks, getting down real comfortable here. I can't find it just scanning. I'm going to try and read it real carefully, and here's what I hope is like the ultimate performance of solo number 125 as we finish this grouping. Come on, man. Pray with me. Here we go. Stick, click. No, thank you. That was, I hope, a very acceptable performance to you. Here's the last line without that doggone stick click. Sometimes you just have to live with the little things. Okay, when I see you again, we'll be starting to get through from solo number 126 to the end of Wilcoxen. And we'll be trying to put these solos together also with this last group of solos from 123, I think it is, to the end with the blazing tempo, because that has not been done yet. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.